Imagine this. The Ravens could be on the verge of making a decision that, in the future, could turn out to be one of the biggest mistakes in the team's recent history. Losing Ronnie Stanley to the Patriots wouldn't just be a huge loss on the offensive line, but it would create a massive gap in protecting Lamar Jackson and weaken our strength against direct rivals. And the worst part, letting him go to an AFC competitor could put us at a huge disadvantage in 2025. Stay with me until the end to understand why this trade could be a terrible deal for Baltimore and how the impact could be even bigger than you imagine. Go Ravens! The Patriots are one of the teams with the most money to spend this offseason, which means they can make some heavy signing. Among the positions that need reinforcement, the offensive line has become a priority, as the team struggled a lot with protection last season. With a huge salary cap, they're targeting big names to immediately solve this problem. One of the targets gaining traction is none other than Ronnie Stanley, the Ravens' left tackle. Stanley has been a key piece for Baltimore for years, serving as one of the pillars of Lamar Jackson's protection. Despite injuries that have hindered some seasons, he remains a high-level player when healthy. Losing him would create a massive hole on the Ravens' offensive line, as replacing a quality left tackle isn't easy. The Patriots know this and may try to capitalize on the situation to snatch him from Baltimore. If Stanley does leave, the Ravens will need to act fast to find a solution. With a roster still aiming for the Super Bowl, losing a player of his caliber could jeopardize the stability of the offensive line and directly affect the offense's performance. The team has seen what happens when Lamar Jackson doesn't have efficient protection, and leaving this gap open would be a huge risk. The management would need to decide whether to go after someone on the market or rely on a new player from the draft. The Patriots' interest in Stanley shows how AFC rivals recognize the strength of the Ravens and are willing to weaken the team whenever possible. Besides reinforcing a weak spot, New England would be taking one of Lamar Jackson's main protectors, which could force Baltimore to move quickly to avoid the consequences of this potential loss. Protecting Lamar Jackson has always been one of the Ravens' top priorities, and Ronnie Stanley has played a crucial role in this scheme for years. Since being drafted in 2016, he has become one of the main players on the offensive line and helped stabilize the offense. When healthy, Stanley is still one of the best left tackles in the league, providing Lamar with time to make plays and opening lanes for the running game. Losing a player of this caliber would create a huge hole in the offensive line. In recent years, injuries have hindered Stanley's consistency, which has raised questions about his durability. However, when he's on the field, the difference is clear, and his presence has helped the Ravens maintain one of the most dynamic offenses in the league. Finding a worthy replacement wouldn't be easy, as the left tackle position is one of the hardest to fill. The Ravens would need to decide whether to rely on someone already on the roster, sign a free agent, or heavily invest in the draft to try and fill this gap. Baltimore's management has always been very careful in assembling the roster, and this potential departure would test the team's ability to adapt. If Stanley does leave, the Ravens would need to ensure that Lamar Jackson's protection remains strong, as any weakness in the offensive line could compromise the entire game plan. A quarterback like Lamar needs reliable protection to reach his full potential, and any change in this area could have a direct impact on the team's performance. If the Patriots manage to snatch Stanley from Baltimore, it wouldn't just be a loss for the Ravens, but a strategic move that strengthens a direct AFC competitor. With playoffs getting more competitive, losing a key player to a conference rival could be a hard blow, and the Ravens would need to respond quickly to avoid setbacks next season. The Patriots' interest in Ronnie Stanley has a clear explanation. The team is in rebuilding mode and needs to provide better protection for their future quarterback. With one of the worst offensive lines last season, New England struggled to give their offense time, and now they're seeking solutions. The potential arrival of a rookie QB increases the need for a solid line, and Stanley could be the ideal person to fill this role. Among the candidates to take over as the Patriots' starting QB is Drake May, one of the best quarterbacks in the 2024 draft class. If New England indeed selects a young talent for the position, providing him with an experienced left tackle would be essential to ease his transition into the NFL. Stanley, with years of experience protecting Lamar Jackson, already knows how to work with a mobile quarterback and could offer the same security for May or whoever else the Patriots choose. For the Ravens, this would mean watching one of their key players help a team that could become more competitive in the future. Moreover, Stanley's experience in playoff games and protecting a dynamic offense could be a determining factor for New England. The Patriots need a leader on their offensive line, and Stanley fits that role perfectly. This move could transform the unit and give more confidence to the new QB. If New England manages to secure this signing, the Ravens wouldn't just lose a starter, but they would see a team out of the spotlight strengthening itself. With the future of the tackle position still uncertain, Baltimore would need to act fast to ensure that Lamar Jackson's protection remains one of the best in the NFL. Well, we're over halfway through the video, but before we continue, I notice you haven't hit the like button yet. It's really important for YouTube to keep recommending my content to you, and that way, I'll keep bringing more updates for you. So, go ahead and hit that like button, it's free. Thanks, and let's keep going. If Stanley really leaves the Ravens, the front office would need to act fast to avoid compromising Lamar Jackson's protection. The left tackle position is one of the most important on the team, and it's not something you can just improvise without losing quality. Baltimore would have to evaluate whether there's a solution within the roster or if the best option would be to invest in the free agent market. On the current roster, Patrick McCree and Daniel Falale are options that could fill the position, but neither has the level of Stanley. McCree is versatile and has filled in for Stanley a few times, but he's not a natural left tackle. Falale is still developing and would face difficulties taking on the responsibility immediately. This means that if Stanley really leaves, the Ravens would probably have to look for an external option to keep the offensive line strong. The other possibility would be to invest in the draft and select a new talent for the position. The problem is that a rookie would need time to adapt to the NFL, and the Ravens can't afford to lose performance in Lamar Jackson's protection. If Baltimore chooses this strategy, the pick would have to be spot on, bringing in a player with the potential to take over the starting role quickly. But even then, the uncertainty about the immediate impact of a rookie would be a risk. If the Patriots managed to take Stanley, the Ravens would be in a complicated situation and would have to act intelligently to minimize the damage. The franchise would need to decide quickly which path to take to ensure this potential loss doesn't harm the team's performance next season. In addition to dealing with the loss of one of their key players, the Ravens would also have to watch Stanley strengthen a direct AFC rival. The Patriots aren't just any team. They are a team that, even in rebuilding, has a history of success and could become competitive again quickly. If Stanley goes to New England, it not only weakens Baltimore, but also strengthens an opponent that could cross paths with the Ravens in the playoffs in the coming years. This move highlights how the NFL is a game of strategy both on and off the field. Teams often don't just look to improve their own roster, but also weaken direct rivals. Taking a left tackle from a team that depends on the running game and its quarterback's mobility is a tough blow. The Ravens know this and will have to assess whether it's worth fighting to keep Stanley or if it's time to think about a future alternative. The good news for Baltimore is that the front office has always been very efficient at finding solutions to major losses. The team has faced difficult situations before and managed to reinvent itself, so it wouldn't be a surprise to see the Ravens coming up with a creative solution for this possible departure. However, losing a player of that caliber to a team in the same conference is never easy to accept. If Stanley really leaves, the Ravens will have to prove once again that they can stay on top even with significant roster changes. With Lamar Jackson leading the offense and the defense staying strong, Baltimore still has the potential to fight for the title. But Stanley's departure would add another challenge for the team to overcome in 2024. This trade could really be a terrible deal for the Ravens, putting our offensive line at risk and giving a huge advantage to AFC rival. If we lose Stanley, Lamar Jackson's protection could be seriously compromised, and on top of that, we'd be weakening one of our biggest strengths by allowing the Patriots to reinforce their team. Is it worth letting him go to a direct competitor? Now I ask you, do you think the Ravens are making a huge mistake by letting this happen? Comment below what you think, and if you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss any important updates about the team's future.